Yo, it's your boy WesTheTech here to bring you another one of my personal favorite tech tips to help you as an artist grow in your craft. Now, today we're going to be explaining Beatstars licensing contracts for beginners, all right? So if you're a recording artist who wants to purchase a beat on Beatstars, but you don't quite understand how their licensing contracts work, or if you're not understanding the language that you're seeing on a BeatStars licensing contract, then this is the perfect video for you, because in this video, I'm going to go over all the important elements of a BeatStars licensing contract, all right? Now, before I continue, I definitely want to let you guys know about my free music business checklist tool that's available to download off of my website right now. This is for any one of you guys who's looking into starting your own music business, but don't quite know where to start. With this free tool, you'll be able to identify 3 things that you could do right away to start your own music business. So if you want to grab this free tool today, you can click on the link above, actually over here, or you can click on the link in the descriptions below, all right? Now, before I continue, I definitely want to let you guys know that these BeatStars licensing contracts isn't just for BeatStars. These are very similar contracts that you will find in other beat licensing companies out there as well, like Track Train or Airbit. They have very similar contracts when you're dealing with licensing. But before I get into the license itself and get into the things that you will see in a BeatStars license, I want you guys to understand that I'm actually not against licensing out beats from BeatStars. It's not something that I'm actually against, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into. When it comes to BeatStars licensing and their contracts, there's a lot of language and a lot of things in there that you may not agree with or you may not want to be a part of. That doesn't mean that it is a bad thing. It just means that you know and you're aware of what you're getting yourself into so that you can make a sound decision when it comes to making music with BeatStars. Now, I, for one, have purchased beats from BeatStars before. I have plenty of songs that I have actually gotten the beat from BeatStars, but at the same time, I know what I was getting myself into when I purchased those licenses. That is the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who may not know what they're getting themselves into when they are purchasing a licensed beat from BeatStars, and that's why I wanted to make this video. So without any further ado, let's just dive into a generic, non-exclusive, standard BeatStars leasing agreement, all right? So as you can see here, this is a basic leasing agreement that I previously had with one of my releases, all right? Now, of course, there are things that's gonna be missing, like my name, obviously the producer's names, and things like that, because obviously we want to keep all of the personal information private. But the things that I will show you are all the things that you will see on a standard BeatStars license agreement. So to dive into the first important thing that you want to always pay attention to when you're looking at a BeatStars licensing agreement, it's the terms. And usually that's going to be the third thing that you'll see, the term. The reason we don't talk about the first and second, because it's the obvious things. They're just letting you know what you're licensing, whether it's an MP3 or WAV, this, that, and the third. But number 3 is the terms. The term of this agreement shall be 10 years. As you can see, they're letting me know as part of this leasing agreement that this leasing agreement isn't for perpetuity. It's not forever. It's only for 10 years, meaning that after the 10 years, the license agreement is over, right? It no longer continues from that point. So when you're getting a licensed beat from BeatStars, understand that it's not a forever thing, no matter how successful the song is. It's only for a certain term, all right? And then once that term is over, the agreement is then void. All right, this is important to know when you're dealing with BeatStars and you're dealing with making music using BeatStars beats, because you need to know how much time that you will actually be in the agreement for. So let's say you want to cancel the agreement or whatever the case may be. Understand that it is locked in for a 10-year period. So this is important for you to know, which is why this is something that you always want to pay attention to when you have the leasing agreement in front of you. All right. Now, one thing that I do want to mention before continuing is you could always look at the leasing agreement before you actually purchase the beat. Before you actually complete the checkout, they will allow you to check out the leasing agreement. So for those of you who are thinking that you have to purchase it before you can see all this, that's not the case. You could check it out before you actually complete the checkout with BeatStars. They allow you to see it, but again, this is how it's going to look like it for the most part. All right. Now, the next important thing that you want to pay attention to is the use of the beat. All right. Now, this section right here is an important section, which is why it's on the first page, and it's why it comes so early on, because there's a couple of things here that I want to pay attention to. All right. The first thing under the use of the beat that I want you to pay attention to is this language right here. Use the beat in the preparation of one new song, or incorporate the beat into a new piece of instrumental music created by the licensee. All right. Essentially, what they're letting you know here is that you could only make one song with this beat. All right. That is very, very important for you guys to understand. You can't use this beat and make multiple songs out of it. You actually can't even make multiple versions of it. Let's say you purchased the beat, you made the song, then you want to make a remix. A remix would actually constitute as a new song. You cannot do remixes and things like that with a BeatStar beat. You are only able to do one song with it. This is important because I see a lot of artists out there that will make remixes of BeatStar beats when that is actually a breach in the agreement. You can only create one song. If it's a remix, that's a different version of it, but it still will constitute as another song. Let's say you want to do something like Busta Rhymes and make 4 different versions of it with different features. You cannot do that with a BeatStars beat. You're only allowed to make one song out of it. That's why I wanted to highlight this part so you guys understand it. All right. The next thing that I want to highlight for you guys to understand that's part of this same section is right here. Licensee acknowledges and agrees that any and all rights granted to the licensee in the beat pursuant to this agreement are a non-exclusive basis, right? This is where they're letting you know that it is non-exclusive. This is why they put non-exclusive in all caps, right? Because non-exclusive essentially means that the beat doesn't belong to you and that they can actually lease the same beat to other artists, right? Meaning that 20 different artists can use this same beat and get this same exact licensing agreement and be able to make one new song with the same beat, right? That is what a non-exclusive beat is. Now, on the flip side to that, an exclusive beat means that you're the only one who's going to use it. The song that you make out of it is the only song that's going to be done. Most big time artists only deal with exclusive beats, right? You can't just use Michael Jackson's Human Nature because it's exclusive to him, right? He didn't purchase a non-exclusive beat. He actually created the beat together with Quincy Jones and all of that good stuff. But long story short is that this beat or this particular beat and for this particular contract is non-exclusive, meaning 1 million people could buy this beat the same way you bought it and make a new song out of it. So you do not own the rights to using that beat moving forward. You only get that if it is an exclusive contract. And I'm telling you guys right now, when it comes to BeatStars, this isn't something that you could just purchase from their website. Most exclusive contracts, you have to make an offer with the producer on BeatStars for an exclusive beat. An exclusive beat typically is way more pricier than a non-exclusive. Non-exclusive, you're looking at the most $100, right? Maybe $200 if you want the waves, right? For an exclusive, you're talking upwards of 500, 800, thousands, right? It's a different price range when you're talking about exclusives, obviously, because that producer knows that you're the only one who's going to be able to use it moving forward. Versus non-exclusive, he could sell it a lot cheaper because a lot of people can use it, all right? That's how the math works for that. That's why I wanted to highlight this part for you guys to understand exactly what this means, because this is a big part of mistakes that artists make when they're purchasing beats. They're purchasing a non-exclusive, expecting that it's only going to be for them, all right? So that's why I wanted to highlight this part. Now, the next section that we're going to go over is this big section right here. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into mad details of all the things that's here, but this is an important section to pay attention to, because in this section, they're letting you know how you can actually use the beat outside of making the one song. They're letting you know how many, basically, if you can have it on an album or not. They're letting you know how much sync licensing that you could get for this song, right? How many radio stations you could actually have this song on. Believe it or not, a lot of these things have limitations to it, right? Mine's in particular, for this particular contract, I could only get it to play on 2 terrestrial stations, meaning I can't submit to 1 million radio stations. I'm only allowed to have it on 2 stations, right? It tells you how much streams you could have, how much purchases, mechanical CDs you could sell with this per the agreement. Some of this stuff is not unlimited, and most of the times it isn't, unless you get a leasing agreement that allows all of this at an unlimited basis. But I'm telling you right now, that's not something that you will find common on Beatstars. And if you do find it, it's going to come with a very, very hefty price tag. So for the purpose of this video, again, I'm not going to dive into all of this, but this is a very important section for you guys to pay attention to when you're looking at your leasing agreement. All right. Now, the next part that we're going to go over is right here. So, under this section of the restrictions, which you'll probably find on the following page of your leasing agreement, it could be in PDF form, but it'll probably be on the following page. But we're going to go over these restrictions because these restrictions are just as important as the usage, right? So the biggest part of the restrictions is as follows. This one right here. The rights granted to licensee is non-transferable. Anytime you see something in all caps, just know that it's important. Non-transferable means that you cannot transfer this license to another artist. You cannot sell it. You cannot give it to another artist to use. This license agreement is between you and the producer. If, let's say, a friend of yours, let's say you had this you leased this beat, you haven't used it, you decided not to use the beat, but it's already leased. Let's say a friend of yours who's also an artist decides that they want to use the beat and they love the beat. You can't give them the beat. They don't have an agreement with the producer. You're the one who has the agreement with the producer. Your government name is on this agreement, not your friend. So you cannot transfer it. And it says it right here in this contract, which means that if you do that, that's a breach of the contract. All right. This is a non-transferable beat. Most Beatstars, if not all, Beatstars beats are non-transferable. So this is something that's important for you to pay attention to, again, when you're looking at your Beatstar contracts, right? Your leasing agreements. The next thing that you also want to pay attention to is this section right here, which is also all caps, right? The whole sentence is all caps, but it's important. It reads, the license is expressly prohibited from registering the beat and or new song with any content identification system, service provider, music distributor, record label, or digital aggregator, right? Then it says, for example, TuneCore or CD Baby or any other provider of user-generated content identification service. All right. Now, if you just read this as face value, you may be thinking to yourself that you can't actually distribute your music and use like DistroKid to distribute your music. That's not what they're telling you here. What they're actually letting you know is that you cannot register your song with a system identification, with an identification system. For example, YouTube Content ID. You cannot register a song that you made with you or using a BeatStars beat with YouTube Content ID, especially when you're dealing with a non-exclusive. Why? Because when you register a song to a YouTube Content ID, any other artist who is also leasing that beat will now get a copyright flag. Why? Because you registered it as yours and it's not yours. You're leasing it, right? This is why it's strictly prohibited from registering your song with YouTube Content ID, which means that you will not get paid on YouTube Content ID with a BeatStars beat, right? That is what it says by the contract. Now, if you've done it before, it's cool. You've done it, right? It's what's done is done. But understand that if they find out, they could breach the contract or take the song down. They're fully in their right to do so, because per contract, you cannot register with YouTube Content ID with a song that you're using a BeatStars beat. Now, the reason they put TuneCore and CD Baby as examples, because TuneCore and CD Baby automatically registers your song with YouTube Content ID when you're distributing with them. You don't have a choice. It automatically does it. Not every distributor does that. For example, DistroKid, you actually have to opt into YouTube Content ID, right? So you could release your song, have it on Apple Music, have it on Spotify, have it on all the streaming platforms, but you cannot opt into YouTube Content ID per the BeatStars licensing contract, especially when you're dealing with a non-exclusive. An exclusive you can, but a non-exclusive you can't, because again, other artists are using that same beat, and that beat, the moment you do that, it gets flagged for everybody else. And if one of them reports it, then they're gonna find out that you're the one who did it, and now you're in trouble, essentially. You get what I'm saying? So remember, when it comes to BeatStars beats, you cannot register them with YouTube Content ID. That's why this is all caps. That's why this is all bold, because they want to make sure that you understand the importance of this restriction. All right. Now, the next restriction that we're going to go into, well, actually, that's the last part of the restrictions, but we're going to move on to ownerships now, right? So the next part of the ownership, or the first part of the ownership that I want to go into, is this section right here, the very, very first part. It says that the producer is and shall remain the sole owner and holder of all rights, titles, and interests in the beat. Meaning that you do not own the beat moving forward. Now, that should be obvious because it's a licensing agreement. They're licensing you the right to use the beat. But they have to make sure that you understand that you do not own the beat. You do not own the beat whatsoever. You do not own the beat. You're just paying for the right to use the beat, right? That part is very important for you to get, so that you can understand the next things that I'm going to tell you that may shock you, right? So the next part that you want to read is this part right here, where it says, licensee may not under any circumstances register or attempt to register the new song and or beat with the U.S. Copyright Office. Wow. So essentially what that means is that you cannot copyright your song that you have licensed with BeatStars. And it makes perfect sense to the first part that I mentioned. Again, the producer owns the beat. You don't own the beat. You own the lyrics. You own the written stuff. They own the beat. You can't copyright a song when you only own half of the song. You could only copyright a song that you own all of, right? And since you cannot own the beat, you can only own your lyrics. Therefore, you cannot copyright a song that you have used a BeatStars beat with. This is very, very important. When you're trying to copyright a song, you can only copyright songs that you own the entire song. You can't partially copyright something. That's why they mention first and foremost that the producer retains the ownership of the beat. You don't own the beat. The producer owns the beat. You just own the parts that you had to do on the beat, right? They even mention even furthermore for you to make sure that you don't get any of this confused. They say right here, for the avoidance of doubt, you do not own the master or the sound recording rights in the new song. They're letting you know literally, you do not own the masters of this song. Why? Because you can't own part of it. You have to own the whole thing. And since the producer owns the beat and you own the lyrics, you do not own the master of the song as well, right? But they do let you know right here on the bottom that when it comes to the lyrics, you do own it. It says right here, notwithstanding the above, you do own the lyrics or other original musical composition of the new song that were written or composed solely by you, right? So it's letting you know the parts that you created, you do own. You just don't own the beat. And because you don't own all of it, you don't own the masters. You can't. Then because you don't own the masters, you cannot copyright it. It all makes sense when you think about it logically, right? It all makes sense when you think about it logically. But you just need to understand that the producer still owns the beat and you cannot copyright it. This is very, very important. And I know that there's a lot of artists that probably never knew this part of it, that has tried to copyright their song before using a BeatStars beat. Just understand that you cannot do that. So that is a very, very important part of the ownership, right? Now, this next part that I'm going to get into it when it comes to the ownership is another big piece of the ownership that a lot of people may not be happy with once they hear it. But it's this section right here, all right? Now, of course, I blacked out our names because, you know, it's our government names and I'm just protecting us since this is an actual agreement, right? But it says here that agree that the underlying composition shall be owned and split between them as follows. So the first one is my name, and it says that I own 50% of the writer's share. Then it shows the producer's name owning 50% of the writer's share as well. So what that means is that the part of the song that you do own, you actually have to share that. So the producer of the beat actually gets 50% of the writing credit on the beat. This is insane, but it relates to performing rights organizations, all right? So if you don't know what a performing rights organization is, it's okay. I made a video about that. You can click on the link above. In that video, I explain everything about PROs and performing rights organizations. But essentially what that organization is here to do is they're here to collect royalties on your behalf when your music is being played in certain venues and things like that. Now, when it comes to registering on a PRO, you have the composer, who's the producer, right? The person who made the beat, and then you have the author or the writer, the person who wrote the song, which is typically you as the artist, right? When it comes to the writer's share, you actually have to split that with the producer, 50-50. That is just how BeatStar Beats licenses work. Let's say you have a feature on the song. Guess what? You have to share with that feature part of your share, not the producers, right? So you would have to maybe have 25%. The other artists maybe have 25%, and the producer himself would have 50%. So in that scenario, the producer will own the majority share of the right? This is how BeatStar licensing contracts are built. This is the standard for most of them, all right? Now, not only do they get 50% of the writing share, but in this part right here, I'm going to read it. It says that producers shall own, control, and administer 50% of the so-called publishing share of the underlying composition. here's where they're letting you know that they will also own 50% of the publishing, right? So when it comes to the publishing, again, not to get too into PROs, but publishing is another part of royalties that you get when it comes to performing rights. The producer owns 50% of that as well. So they get half of the publishing, half of the writing, and they get full ownership of the beat itself, right? So that is what you're dealing with when you're actually licensing a beat through Beatstars per their actual contract. All right. Now there are some other things on the contract that's important as well, but those to me are minor things in comparison to everything else that I mentioned. But for the sake of the entire contract, please make sure you read the entire contract. I just wanted to highlight the most important parts of it so you guys understand, again, what you're getting yourself into. Now, it's pretty safe to say, after the things that I just went over, that BeatStars licensing contracts cater to the producers. They don't really cater to the artists, right? If you notice, the producer gets the bulk of everything. The producer gets all the rights, not the artist, right? This makes sense. Why? Because you're, as an artist, are going to Beatstars for a beat. If you're coming to me for the beat and I'm not coming to you, I'm the one who's going to set the terms because you need me. I don't need you. That's how Beatstars look at it, right? That's how all the producers who are under Beatstars look at it. You like this beat. I don't have to come to you. And if you don't use the beat, somebody else will, right? So they're able to use that as leverage, right? This is what you will typically see when it comes to contracts in the music business. Whoever has the most leverage has the bulk or the most rules or the most power when it comes to the contracts itself. No different than record labels. When you look at a record label contract, the record label has the leverage. The record label has the power. The record label is the person that you went to. They didn't come to you. You went to them. You want to be a part of the record label. So most of the things in the contract is going to cater more towards the record label because it is their contract, not yours. That doesn't mean that you can't renegotiate and all of those different things, but it's their contract. It's just up to you on whether you want to agree with it or not. Beatstars works the same way, right? Track Train works the same way. Airbit works the same way. They have the contract. It's up to you on whether you want to agree to it or not. If you don't agree, you just can't use the beat. It's just that simple, all right? Now, again, do I believe that BeatStar beats aren't worth dealing with when you consider everything in the contract? I can't make that decision for you. But what I can tell you is that when you are an artist, in the beginning, your options are limited. But when you get to a certain point in your music career, you have to eventually branch off to find your own producers. Find your own producers and make deals and contracts with them on a personal basis, right? I'm getting to a point in my career that I don't use Beatstars anymore. I have developed relationship with producers, and whatever terms that we decided together between artist and producer, right? I don't use Beatstars, right? We actually agree on it together the way it used to be, because obviously Beatstars wasn't always here. It's one of those things that just came with the internet, right? It's just the blessings of the internet and all of those different things. So this is the engine that it is now. But that doesn't mean that you can't do business the way music business has always been done between producers and artists, right? Just come to the table, figure it out together, find the middle grounds that works for the both of you guys, create that contract and be done with it, right? Typically, when you're dealing with an individual, it caters both people equally. When you're dealing with Beatstars, you're not going to find that equality. That's just the reality of the situation, all right? But that's pretty much it, guys. Again, I didn't want to make this video super long. I just wanted to identify the important parts of the contract, especially if you're a beginner out there who really doesn't understand Beatstars or their contracts, right? That's why I wanted to make this video for you guys to understand it, all right? Now, of course, if you have any additional additional questions or concerns in regards to BeatStars and their licensing contracts, please feel free to leave comments in the comment section below, because again, I'm here to help you guys out as an artist. All right. Now, before I let you guys go, I definitely want to let you guys know about my book here, The 13 Steps to Jumpstart Your Music Business. Quite simply, is for any artist who's out there, or any aspiring artist who's out there, who's just sick and tired of their 9-to-5 job and they want to do music full time. That's literally what this book is designed to help you get through, help you accomplish, right? I've been doing music full time for years now, and I was able to do that with the same steps that I took with this book to jumpstart my music business. Once my music business started, I never looked back, and I've been doing music full time for years now, almost a decade at this point. All right. And the same thing that I want for every artist that I help on this channel, right? You guys know I'm all about independent artistry and having your own music business, right? A big part of that is the 13 steps that I followed in here. So if you want to grab this, there's a link in the description for this as well. You'll also find it on my website. I have ebook forms, which you can literally download and read as soon as possible. And I have paperback form for those of you who like to have a physical copy. It's all available on my website, all right? But that's pretty much it, guys. That's what this video was about. And I hope that you guys understand BeatStars licensing contracts more now, moving forward, now that I have gone over those key things with you. But again, if you guys have any additional questions, leave comments in the section below. I'm here to help. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's what this video was about. I hope this helps you when you're dealing with BeatStars, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
I'm feeling like David. Can't nobody slay me. I feel like Moses. Big Moses. Can't nobody hold me. I'm feeling like Daniel. Big Daddy. Can't nobody face me.